Hey, what's up? So, different people might have different takes on this, but I think the most difficult decade of anyone's life is their 20s. And the funny thing is it kind of irks me when people in their 20s say this. I think because they don't have as much reference points. So, they've got their ones, they've got their tens, and then they've got their 20s. And really, it's probably just their tens and 20s that they're able to compare against. So, I don't know if they have enough data points to say that, but I'm guessing they've heard it from other people because they haven't lived through the whole 20s yet to really speak on it from experience. But the reason why I think, actually, before I get into it, I also think an incredibly difficult period in anyone's life is when you get to that age where your friends, your family start to pass away. But because that's a little bit less predictable exactly when that happens in someone's life, I'm limiting this focus to the 10s, 20s, 30s, and 40s. And from there, I would say the most difficult period is the 20s. Here's why. So everything up to maybe 22, 23, wherever you get to when you finish school, it's a very structured system. So you go to school, you study. After the year ends, you go to the next year. You go to the next year. And it's seemingly cyclical. So it's all the same, all the same, all the same. And if you're fortunate enough to have the support of your parents, you're probably living with your parents, so you don't have to worry about rent, power, internet, food. So a lot of the other things that adults have to deal with, you probably don't have to deal with when you're younger than 20. And so it starts to hit when you're in your 20s as you start adulting and becoming more of an adult, handling more responsibilities, potentially getting some more independence, where it does become very tough, especially because once you graduate, whether it's high school or university, you're suddenly out of this structured system that your kind of brain has been conditioned to know how to deal with. And all of a sudden I guess when you're in school, you can kind of get to this point where you're at the top of the echelon, kind of where you're the senior in school and you kind of know things inside out, but then you kind of finish school, you graduate, and you're kind of back on the bottom of the chain again. So you're probably looking at graduate roles, entry-level jobs. So you're back to ground zero. Maybe not ground zero, you're back to zero. So you kind of have to figure things out from there. Not everyone can help you at this point as well, because when you're at school, you've got your teachers, your parents probably can help you with your homework. But I mean, if you're fortunate enough to have parents or friends or whoever that can help you with jobs and things like that, that's great. And maybe you have access to resources like school counseling or whatever that can help you. But there's probably a large portion of people that don't have that support. Their parents aren't in positions to help you get a job. Your friends aren't in positions to help you get jobs. So you're in this position where you kind of don't have, where you're kind of having to figure a lot of things out for yourself and in some ways be forced to stand on your own feet. And that's an incredibly difficult period, because even the jobs you select or the jobs you get is somewhat out of your control, right? So if you're super fortunate, you'll have a job that you want to work at and you'll get that job. But I'm pretty sure for most people, they don't get the first job they want to get. And if you're lucky, you'll get within a range of jobs and companies that you're looking at. But some people, if you're really unlucky, maybe not really unlucky because it might be realistic, but you just have to get, you can have some idea of what your skills are and what you're able to offer a job. But at the end of the day, when you're looking for a job, when you don't have a job and you're looking for a job, you kind of get what you're given. And the companies you join, the jobs you get, the people you meet, all of that really starts to shape you as a person, as an adult. And so it's not necessarily decisions you make in your 20s that are so important. They are very important because obviously they have compound interest as well. But they have compound interest, so they're very important. But those choices and the outcomes, what you land on, particularly around work, is very difficult. And you can see two people that graduated, similar academic grades, similar upbringing, but one person gets into a really good company, one person doesn't. They struggle kind of to find their way in the corporate ladder, and this person just accelerates from the get-go. And so the 20s are very difficult to find your place, especially if you're in a position where you're watching other people that were maybe even behind you in some ways excel past you, or maybe people that were in the same kind of band that have just accelerated past you. And that can be tough to watch, right? So in terms of work, it's very tough. Working in itself is also longer hours than just going to school. And so there's that portion. You got to start paying for rent, potentially, food, power, internet. And aside from just work, which you're kind of figuring out as well, is you're probably figuring out relationships as well. And if you're dating, not everyone dates in their 20s as well, but if you're dating and figuring things out in that realm, that can also be very stressful, especially if you're going through a breakup or an argument or a fight, or maybe you're not having as much success in dating as you'd like to be having. And these are all incredible stress factors on anyone. And to kind of look ahead a little bit, I think in your 30s, hopefully you're a little bit more established, you're a little bit more comfortable in your skin, you've kind of navigated through some of these life experiences and started to, maybe form stronger opinions. Because when you're a kid in school, your opinions are quite, not shallow, but I feel like they're not as in-depth as they get to when you start to mature, as you start to have different takes on things and you can really have your own personality. I mean, not to say that people in there that are younger don't have personalities, but I think you really become experts. You can really become an expert in your 20s. And yeah, also, I think in your 30s, I think the 30s are great because if you've been working through your 20s and maybe you've been able to save up a little bit, even when you go on a holiday in your 30s, maybe you've got a little bit more cash to spend. You've still got a bit of youth and you've hopefully still got your health. And so in terms of traveling, the 30s are incredible. But maybe in your 20s, if you go on holidays, if you go on any holiday or vacation, you're a little bit more skimp on your money. And yeah, even in your 20s, even the jobs that you get, kind of like graduate level jobs, junior jobs, they're probably not going to be paying you that well. So you need to build that experience, build that expertise, and then kind of late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s, so on, you're probably going to start to get, hopefully, a slightly better pay, and that's going to help you in lots of different ways. But yeah, I don't know if I'm missing anything. I'm sure I am, but maybe we can cut it there because it's almost 10 minutes in. And yeah, those are a few reasons why I think 20s are the most difficult period in anyone's life. Thanks for watching. See you next time.